I'm moderately annoyed that I'm not running my timer right now because I feel like this is quote unquote billable to myself, which I normally do. I'm not going to do that right now though. I'm going to resist the temptation. But what I'm talking about is I want to talk about a lot of things. What should I talk about first? I think You know what? I think I'm going to talk about landing pages because landing pages are very interesting. Um, Actually, when people look at bounce rate and exit rate, which we just talked about, if not, go back and watch that video if those the two things can confuse you. Landing pages are interesting because you'll notice that none of them, or all of them, have 0% exit rate, which they don't even show anymore. They used to show it, and it was really confusing. Um, but what you'll notice is they don't because obviously, if you land on a page initially, you cannot exit, you can only bounce. Um, but what I like to do is I like to layer a landing page with source medium to figure out the campaigns that are driving things home. So we'll probably get into that in this video, but what I want to do, I'm going to remove these segments first of all because they annoy me having so many columns and so many rows. And we get all users. You notice that if I remove all the segments, I get all users by default. Perfect. Um, yeah, so landing pages are interesting because, uh, they're not, it's not useful on its own. It is useful if you understand the site. So if this is your site and you don't have 394 pages, which is what I see down here, you probably have 100. And you're probably sending traffic to like 8 of them. We can see right here, there are 75,000 sessions per month. See, yeah, about per 30 days. And that's almost exactly 80% land on the homepage. That's insane. So you don't need to worry about what's on, that final page. I don't even want to scroll over. It's not worth it. Um, you just want to worry about what's happening in that 80%, and probably in this case, 90%. Um, yeah, so looking at this landing page report, you can find out what the bounce rate is. So are people going deeper into your site when you ask them to? If it's a landing page that's, um, trying to find something here. None of these really look super informational. So if basket is about how to make a basket, then having a high bounce rate, which is actually interesting because like the pages per session on this are like terrible example, Brian, are super high, and average duration is super high, and transaction is super high. But if this was how to make a basket and people just wanted to make a basket, they found your page and then they left, and you had a 90% bounce rate, that could be okay. Like that's all right. Google Analytics and Google itself are famous for talking about pogo sticking, meaning you go to the top result, then you leave, then you come back, and then you leave, and you can tell that not only do they have that access, that data in Google Analytics to see if they clicked on the first result, which is you, and then they left and went to a different one, but they can see how long the session is and whether or not the last click was you, and that resulted in them like fulfilling their desire or whatever, and them exiting out of search. Um, so that's why bounce rate is kind of important for intent for you, uh, and why sometimes, like I said in that last video, that it's a little bit of a misnomer in terms of a negative rate if it's too high. Okay, so landing page report otherwise is good. It's good to know what's driving transactions. Again, if you have a long sales cycle, then the pages that are driving transactions are probably the ones where people have more intent. So if they're like, I want to buy a travel ticket to this destination on this date, probably a great query for you. I don't think you'll be able to bid on that in terms of AdWords, but if you can display for people searching for trips to London in November, that's great. If people are searching for Nike Air Max size 11 and a half, I don't even know if that's a shoe. That's probably great because it's so specific. It's such a long tail query. And what you'll likely be able to see is that, I have 10 shoes and they all convert at a similar rate. If something's sticking out of the ordinary, something's a sore thumb, it's converting at half the rate, you might want to check out that landing page. If something's converting at double the rate, also check that out and apply it to basically everything on your site, or at least all landing pages. But looking at top of funnel stuff, like I said earlier, it's not so bad if people don't buy, but the page per session is high or the bounce rate is high. Figure out what is the purpose of that page, what is the purpose of the people searching for that page, and then do those two things align. And I think if you get that, then the landing page report will be really cool. And I think that I'm running long here, so I'm not going to do landing pages in source medium. I'll do that next. If you want to layer in where people are coming from and the page they're landing on, stay tuned.